Just like to welcome you all to this month's meeting of Environment and Regeneration. Particularly want to welcome our dairy councillors. Hope the road up to Strabane wasn't too stressful for you. But I'm going to hand over to Karen here to take the roll and read the notice.
Thank you, Chair. To all members of Environment and Regeneration Committee, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the committee, which will be a hybrid meeting to be conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber, Dairy Road, Strabane, the 19th of July at 4 p.m. I'll take the roll call. Alderman Derek Hussey. Alderman Keith Kerrigan. Alderman Julie Middleton. Thank you. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr. Councillor John Boyle.
Online. Didn't make it up
Thank
the road,
you.
unfortunately.
Okay. Councillor Kathleen Deeney. Thank you. Councillor Alex Duffy.
On Shaw online.
Okay. Councillor Brian Hart. Councillor Emma McKinley. Councillor Rory McHugh. Councillor Patrick Murphy.
On shot.
Okay. Councillor Declan Norris.
You're online.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martin Reilly.
Here, Karen.
Thank you. I think that's us, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Karen. Item 4 is declarations of members' interest. Any members want to declare any interest? Alternatively, you can, if you're online, you can put it in the chat box as we go through the agenda as well. No members indicating. Just going to ask Karen to read the broadcast statement.
Apologise, members.
Delegate.
I'd like to remind everyone here present at the meeting in the Chamber, Strabane, or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. The broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at the meeting, you're consenting to be filmed and to the use and storage of images for broadcasting and training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making the records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on when speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak, and a copy of the privacy notice is found on the Council website. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Karen. Any members' interest? No. So that takes us then to item 5, Chair's business. I have a couple of items from other councillors, but I just want to raise one issue myself from carried over from yesterday's Business and Culture meeting, because it's a cross-departmental issue. And Stephen Gillespie had said be wise to raise it at this committee as well. And then Karen and him can fight it out to who can undertake to carry it out. But it was actually my colleague, Councillor Devine, who raised it, and it pertained to an item in relation to Newton Stewart and Castledare businesses. And Councillor Devine had proposed that a working group be set up with key stakeholders to explore, I suppose, the economic sustainability in line with the town master plan. So she had asked me to raise it here today under Chair's business. Members, you can see the proposal on the screen in front of you. So I'm proposing that.
I've been second, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Hussey. If any member wishes to make a comment, you're more than entitled to do so.
Chair, would you like?
Can you increase the size, because it's hard to read?
Ask Jill to do that there.
Chair, if it would be useful, I could ask Tony to give a brief update on the master plan and the engagement to date, if that would help.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Karen. Members, We've embarked upon this process now in late 2022 in terms of the creation of a town centre regeneration framework for Newton Stewart Town Centre. The process, there is a group in existence already in terms of an internal and external delivery group. So it's those agencies and departments that would have the resources and the ability to deliver out on the plan. Clearly, it's a co-design process with not just that group, but also we have been engaged in terms of public engagement sessions with as many town centre stakeholders as well, in terms of trying to identify what they see as the key issues, opportunities, and indeed what they would like to see in that plan as well. Obviously, as the process evolves and in terms of status, we're currently drafting the first draft of that plan with the actions along with those internal and external organisations in terms of to secure, I suppose, agreement in terms of that draft plan. The proposal for us as officers is that as part of the implementation phase is to create a dedicated town centre forum that would actually see then the delivery group made up of the internal and statutory partners meeting on a frequent basis with the community and indeed other stakeholders in the town centre. And that would be, I suppose, the development of that particular working group. So that's the position as of now. In addition to that, as we're working through this process, we are also engaging directly and particularly on highway and traffic management issues with the local business representatives at this minute in time, and we've held meetings with them recently because that seems to be a particular area of concern, and we felt given the importance of that, and traffic management won't just be the only theme in the regeneration framework. There'll be a range of other themes in there as well, but traffic management seems to be and parking seems to be a big one, and we feel that in itself merits parallel conversations with the business organisations. So I think, Chair, it'd be fair to say that, from the outset of the process, is that we've been, I suppose, determined to bring together as many partners as part of a delivery group, steering group already. That group, once the plan is adopted through committee, will still be in existence because they will be the organisations, departments, agencies who will be tasked with delivery. But the important interface in this will be the establishment of a dedicated forum where we will go and engage with key stakeholders and we exchange issues, views, bring them back and respond to them.
Thanks for that. Tony, of Alderman Hussey indicated to come on.
Just very briefly, I think the intention from Councillor Devine is obviously not here to confirm it, but that there should be elected representative input on that working group from all of the councillors of the Derg area.
Our next councillor with Chair's business is Councillor Hart. Go ahead, Councillor Hart.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a proposal I want to bring to investigate the potential regeneration of the Burn, which is an area of outstanding natural beauty located in the head of the town area of Strabane. Currently, 30% to 40% of it is made up or looked after by the Woodland Trust, who regenerated. They had a project a number of years ago. So there's about 70% left of the area, and I was looking to see if council could take an initiative with partner organisations, the Woodland Trust being one of them, to explore the possibilities of regenerating the remaining part of the Burn. For anybody that isn't familiar with it, it's as I say, it's a beautiful area. It's a bit like Ness Woods, so it comprises of woodland and a small river, the Cavanagh River. So that's what I would like to bring to the table, if possible. That's all.
Okay, that's a proposal from Councillor Hart, seconded by Councillor Barr. Members, you have it up on the screen there, and I'm going to ask Karen just to come in for comment.
Yeah, through you, Chair, members, we are happy to organise a meeting and then consider the issue and bring a report back to members. We have actually engaged the Woodland Trust recently and they're coming for a visit in the area soon, so we can potentially work it around that. No problem. And then we'll bring a report back with potential options for members to consider. Thank you.
Could I just come back in? If there is a site visit, I would like to be involved as well, you know. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, members, and our final item under Chair's business was Councillor Minnie who contacted me, and I think Councillor Reilly is going to raise that on his behalf.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And you're right, yeah, this is on behalf of Councillor Mooney, who's not a member of this committee, but Councillor Mooney's been contacted by a number of residents, specifically on the issue of people using dirt bikes and scramblers in Top of the Hill Park, which is causing a bit of a nuisance in terms of noise for the residents who live adjacent to the park, but also those types of vehicles are not necessarily amenable to good safety for those other users in the park, and indeed sometimes the users of the scramblers themselves. It's not the first time that this issue has arisen, I think. So I'd be asking officers through you, Chair, to investigate what can be done in relation to this. I know that Councillor Mooney has been in touch with the likes of the Police and Community Safety Partnership, but if officers could consider what can be done in relation to the provision within the park itself in terms of the infrastructure there to prevent this type of misuse of the public space, that would be appreciated. And as with the previous proposal, if officers can consider that and bring a report back to the next meeting, I think that would be the right way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Reilly, and I've Councillor Deaney indicated here as well.
As Councillor Reilly said, this is a long-standing issue for the residents of the greater Top of the Hill area. It's been continuously raised as well with myself and Councillor Jackson. We've been working with local community and youth groups to highlight this issue with the PSNI, and we would welcome the seizure recently of some of the bikes, but as Councillor Reilly said, it is still an issue that we will keep raising with the PSNI, but any help that you can help to support would be brilliant. Thank you.
Take it your second of that. Thank you. Go ahead with Karen indicated here.
Yeah, Chair, we'll take that away and consider it, all possible options, and we'll bring a further report back to members to update. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. That brings us, members, then to our next item, which is the matters arising from our open minutes of our previous meeting in June, pages 5 to 14. Any matters arising? Alderman Hussey.
Thank you. ER 99, ER 100, the two items that I raised there, I've already done this in full council, but it was raised in committee, and I do want to sincerely thank council officers and staff who attended to those two issues within days, and I know that it was very much appreciated by those impacted. With regard to 101, the parking bays, I don't know about any other Derek councillor, but I have received a reply from DFI with regard to parking bays, disabled parking bays, stating that there are enough. That is not in dispute. It's the issue is as to where the parking bays actually are. There's one, for example, in front of a bank, which is now closed, and the purpose of the disabled bay being there was because it was a bank. There's another one in the Diamond, which we believe is on the wrong side of the road. So perhaps that can be followed up with DFI, maybe even meeting on site with local councillors with regard to where those disabled bays are located within the town centre. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman. I have Councillor Boyle, John Boyle indicated.
You, Chair, keep it brief, Chair. Obviously, there's a reference there in the minutes to the Cemetery Sunday situation that we saw. Now, I do recall, I wasn't personally at it. I do recall it was a particularly horrendous day of weather. But I would be interested just to have some kind of an update as to how that panned out. I would imagine Connor would be the person best able to give us a brief update on that. I'm just interested to see if it was successful, or if there was any further contention around it. Chair, that's basically it.
Yeah, Chair, happy to do that. In terms of the safety on the day, it certainly was a lot safer in previous years where we'd managed to keep traffic and pedestrians apart. We facilitated entry into the cemetery for a number of disabled drivers in advance. We have written to the church post-event looking to meet to discuss this year's event and to plan ahead for next year where we can improve on the safety. And again, it comes back to simply ensuring that the event goes ahead in as safe as a manner as possible and limit the potential for any injury or potentially something worse. But in terms of the event, it went off well on the day and certainly had been better managed than in previous years from a traffic management perspective.
Okay, you're content with that, Councillor Boyle? Do you?
That's great, Chair. That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Any other members wishing to raise any item? No. So we'll move on then, members, to our next item on the agenda, which is item number 7, introduction of litter and dog fowl bin policy. And Connor's taking this one for us.
Yep, thanks, Chair. To seek members' approval to adopt litter and dog fowl and bin policy setting out operational arrangements for council providing litter and dog bins throughout the city and district. Members will know the council has a legal duty to control litter, but has no legal duty to provide litter bins and dog waste bins. However, we understand and realise that these form part of the solution, and we're keen to set in place a proper arrangement for siting and managing litter and dog fowl and bins across the city and district. The provision and emptying of bins is seen as a key action, and the purpose of this policy is to detail how the council will deal with requests for new bins, emptying and maintaining existing bins, replacing existing bins, and encouraging greater recycling of litter through litter bins in terms of where they're sited and the type of bin that we provide in the future. The policy has been subject to a quality screening process and has been screened out for a quality impact assessment. And really, I suppose it provides a roadmap for day-to-day operations and that ensures compliance with laws and regulations and give guidance for decision-making and streamlines council's internal processes. Again, it outlines council's commitment to meeting customer needs, and the policy sets clear expectations for how customers will be treated and how their concerns will be addressed. From an equality and rural needs perspective, this policy can help ensure that council staff are consistent in their approach to customer services and provide a high level of service across the city and district, and that customers' needs are fulfilled. Having a clear policy in place can make for a more cost-effective service, therefore improving the level of service, and the policy sits council in meeting its legal obligations. And the policy sets out just, I suppose, the key details in determining where bins can and will be provided. And this is based on, I suppose, experience. And members will know that I'm sure they have many requests for bins at different times, and the issues that arise with regard to that in terms of those who want them in particular areas and those who don't want them in particular areas, and how we manage all of that so we can be consistent in determining that approach throughout the council district. So members are asked to endorse the policy as set out in the document before them today.
Thanks, Connor. And just before we discuss that issue, just Councillor Kerrigan has messaged me there that he's online and he doesn't have the chat box facility, so that could be noted. Okay, I have Alderman Middleton online indicated. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Connor, for the policy update. Also much appreciated. I just wanted to raise one small point just about the site survey element, whereby it mentions disproportionate travel costs. I just wanted to ensure that this doesn't leave some of our more rural villages at a disadvantage when it comes to tackling dog fouling. I just was hoping that could be maybe noted and maybe something we could discuss a little. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to note that. Yeah.
Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm looking at point 2 on the actual policy, proposed policy. I do have to say I have some concerns. Are we being over bureaucratic about this? You know, the plan of location, what standard of plan is accepted? You know, is somebody expected to get an ordnance survey map or whatever? Type of bin, well, not too bad, we can deal with that. Risk assessments, this is asking members of the public who are requesting these to undertake this, I presume. I'm presuming maybe not. A survey of the mess over a 3-month period. Surely to goodness our street cleaners will be able to, a quick phone call will tell you. A street cleaner will know where the areas are that are difficult. So it says the request for new bins must be received in writing. And I see a few shaking heads when I've mentioned some of these things, but I'm reading it that the request must be accompanied by these particular things. So it's who is providing these, the survey, the plan, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe that can be teased out. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, how would you deal with that? In terms of a location, it's just a simple X on a drawing to say where the person would like the bin to go, so that we have some kind of indication of the area that they're talking about. That will allow us to determine, for example, can we get a vehicle to empty it? Is it our land? And so on. So those are all the things that we need to know beforehand. And we only have authority to set bins on adopted surfaces or in council property. So if the property belongs in private ownership or it belongs to another public agency, for example, the Health Service, NI Rivers, NI Water and so on, it would be for that agency or organisation to provide a litter bin and not necessarily council. In terms of risk assessment, that's something that council will undertake in terms of, again, can we get to the bin safely? Are our vehicles able to get to it and so on? So those are the things that we will take on board. And it's simply to say those are the things that we need to take into consideration when we get a request for a bin. So yes, we understand that, that when people are out and about, they will say this is a good location for a bin. And that's possibly so. But as an organisation, we need to be sure that it's our lands and we have the powers and we can get a service and so on. So those are the things that we will do. And all we're simply trying to set out in this policy is here's the things that we take into consideration every time we receive a request, so that we adopt a consistent position across council.
Through you, Chair, I do have to say I'm reassured with that. It strikes me that it's not really that much different than what we're currently doing. It's just putting it down in words. So thank you, Chair.
I think it is, Chair, and I've just asked Connor maybe just to give members a little bit of information in relation to the survey in terms of dog fowl.
Chair, so the supervisors now at the moment carry out surveys across their own districts in terms of identifying litter hotspots and dog hotspots. So if a request comes in, we will have certainly that information, but if a request comes in for a new location, we want to understand, is there sufficient demand, or was it just that the person on that day encountered some litter or dog fouling and there's not really sufficient demand for a bin? So again, it's just mindful that we have a limited resource and it's trying to ensure that we put it in those areas, our bins in those areas where we get the highest impact.
Councillor Deeney.
It was around the survey situation as well, just to ask, is this something that we currently do or is this something that's new? And you did go into a bit of detail there about it, but just what does the survey entail? Is it down to residents or is it down to councils?
Yeah, Chair, happy again to do. That's down to council. So we will determine, if someone asks for a bin, we will determine is there actually a need for a bin or is it just someone's perception on a particular day. The supervisors, as I said, we've implemented now where each supervisor will carry out regular surveys within their own areas to determine the levels of litter and dog fouling and so on. And so it may be the case that we as an organisation will say we need a bin there as opposed to a resident coming along. But if residents come along, we just want to have a clear process and a set of principles in terms of how we determine where bins should be.
Thank you, Councillor Deeney, and I have Alderman Kerrigan as well online.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. Apologies, I'm unable to attend the meetings in person today or online. But Chair, again, a policy been introduced. I have no real issue with it, and I have concerns. But as I say, you have addressed them there. But it's just more the case of the existing bins that we have there. There's been a number of bins that have been removed, and you'll know yourself as well, Chair. There's a number of lampposts and telegraph poles around Castleairg whereby there's a top of a bin, but the bin has been gone a long time and it's been raised to council officers, and whether it was felt there was never the need for it, but they were never replaced, nor was the top of it ever taken away off via DFI's property or whatever else, you know. And again, even as has been raised, and I know Alderman Hussey's raised it as well, bins removed in Kiln, and we're told to be looked at, but there's never been replaced. You know, so just there's concerns there with what we're currently doing. But again, I know we're looking at this policy in regards to future, you know, how we deal with it going forward. But it's just, again, the concerns, and these things have been raised over the years and in the last term as well, and nothing ever seemed to be done with them. You know, that was noted, but there was never no response, never no comeback of, we've decided not to go down this line, or we've decided not to replace that. We'll look at it as well. You kind of got from officers, you know. So just concerns with that, you know, as what we are currently doing. But just a point more than anything else. Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in.
Chair, happy to deal with that. That's part of the reason for, in terms of documenting this process, that DFI would prefer that we didn't put post-mounted posts on their lamp posts and so on. So we've had to step away from that and look at where we can. And yet members have over the years raised issues about bins, and where they've been brought to my attention, certainly I've looked at them. And if members want to feed to me directly on locations where they think that bins were and have been removed, I'm happy to look at that. But certainly it's based on the principle of need, as opposed to just, you know, bins being set out because they say someone has been there on a particular day and observed some litter. And we have a finite resource, and it's a matter of targeting those areas where they're going to have greater impact.
Thank you, Conor. And I have Councillor Duffy online.
You're my good Chair. Apologies, Chair, for coming on this. It's just really just for Conor there and the team, just to take note that the dog fouling bans on the new stretch of the Greenway from Grancha to Strathfoyle are overflowing, not only just with dog foul, but also with general waste as well. And maybe perhaps it's due to a lack of normal waste bins in the area, and people are using them as well. But I don't think the dog fouling bans has been emptied. Correct me if I'm wrong. Perhaps it's a schedule issue and it's just not put on their schedule list for it. I'm not sure, but just for your information, Conor, that they are overflowing and it is an issue at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'll get that sorted, and I'll work with Colin and his team to look at the litter bin provision along the greenways.
Okay, members, I take it we're all happy enough to endorse the recommendation there. So that'll take us on then to our next item, which is item 8, street naming and property numbering.
Thanks, Chair. This is again members' consent to number developments of Buncrana Road and Derry. Council has received application in respects of names for the following developments: Templemore Crescent and Faustina Terrace. The applicants have proposed the following names in order of preference, and that is the lands of Buncrana Road and its 58 numbered dwellings, and its Templemore Crescent, and the name pertains to the local place name of Templemore. And the second one relates to Faustina Terrace, and again the name pertains to the adjacent Faustina Retail Park. And members are asked therefore to endorse the adoption of the names for Templemore Crescent and Faustina Terrace.
Any member wish to comment? Or take it we're happy enough then.
Opposed, Chair.
Okay. So proposed by Councillor McGinley, seconded by Councillor Hussey. So members, that then takes us on now to items for information. So I'll just go through them one by one. If any member wishes to raise a question or make a comment, you can do so. So item 9 is building control applications. Item 10, closed disabled parking bays. Councillor McGinley.
Grammega Chair, it's just a note, the one on Circular Road will be up and around the Murrets, sort of where I live, and I've just sort of noticed on the map it's on quite an awkward bend. I don't know if we can contact the DFI just to make them aware. I know there's been issues up there with parking before, just so that they're aware that that bend can be quite difficult. I have spoken to them when they were doing the resurfacing scheme and around potentially elongating the parking bay that's there, but they said it wasn't possible because of the bend. So I would just be curious as to how the parking bay would work with that. So just for that to be noted. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. We can feed that back to DFI, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McGinley. Item 11 is the flooding update. Item 12 is proposed interpretation panel for Naylor's Row.
Chair, sorry, I wanted to speak on item 11. I had it in the chat
Oh,
box.
Sorry, Alderman
Sorry,
Middleton.
I'm sorry for speaking over you there.
I should have known from yesterday's meeting.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm away at the
Go
minute,
ahead.
so I just
Go
get used to
ahead.
being on. So thanks for letting me in there, Chair. Just in regards to the Eglinton flood alleviation, I just wanted to ask just a wee query if there's a known time frame for the appointment of a new consultant. I just think it's imperative that works progress and don't stall. Like I really don't want us to be allowing for constituents in any of the areas that floods happening or may happen and to continue living in fear of rain or flooding or any more devastating damage to their properties or possessions. So I just wanted to ask about that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, through you, Chair, members, we will take that up with DFI. Certainly, it's something that we've been going to them after the meeting with members' comments, and we will ask them specifically to provide that in their next update. If we have anything quicker than the next meeting, we can advise members accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and on item 12, I have Councillor Boyle and Councillor McGinley. Go ahead, Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. In principle, I've no problem with the board that's mentioned here, but looking actually at the detail of the board, and it's for the benefit of officers who perhaps don't know some of the history of that area as well. And I was a little bit surprised to see actually that there's no reference on the board to something that existed there, believe it or not, during the Great Siege of 1689. Now, I can be a wee bit obsessive about history, and I always like to think that we would get things right and that we can, further educate people, etc. But in that particular area, and I know this, there was actually an archaeological dig carried out in and around there at the time when Alexandra House was being built, and it's documented that there was actually what's referred to as a ravelin, which was an outside protective area, just outside the gate at Bishop Street there during that Great Siege of 1689. And I think that would be a detail that might be of some interest to people, and perhaps officers may consider doing a little bit of research on that and then adding in a few lines in relation to it. And I'd be happy to point them in the right direction if they want to do that. Thanks, Chair.
Bring Alderman Hussey in because he wants to speak on this issue.
Yeah, can I totally support Councillor Boyle on that? The ravelin that was placed there was actually placed by Colonel Lundy when he upgraded the defences of the city in the time leading up to what's called the Great Siege, one of 3 sieges that I'm aware of. So it's perfectly correct that should be included in any information board that would be along that particular stretch of or area within the city. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is, sorry, Councillor
Did you
McGinley.
forget about me? I'm not quite the history buff that Councillor Boyle is. Mickey Cooper used to be a councillor, but he's also a tour guide. And he had a look at this, just he would do tours up and around the area, and also pointed out a wee omission in terms of the site previously being the headquarters for the Federation of the Columban Monasteries before it was Anne Templemore. So I don't know if it's worth maybe a conversation with Mickey just or any of the tour guides that operate in and around that area, just to make sure that it's accurate. But he had pointed out that wee omission. Just thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members. Thanks very much for those helpful comments. And certainly, I think that's the reason why we wanted to bring it to members before we went ahead and put it up, and really just to get your views and anything else that you think needed to be added to it, so we can undertake that research and make sure that we're as historically accurate as we can, and then we'll arrange to have it put up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Karen. Item 13 is the Mobile update, and I have Councillor Alex Duffy indicated.
Good Chair, and apologies to the council officers and team there for sounding like a broken record on this issue. It has now been 6 months since our committee meeting where we raised a request to NI Water that they receive a delegation of councillors to the water treatment plant at Carmoney for I suppose, a fact-finding information-based visit. They look and see how our water is being treated, so then we can best explain that to the people on the ground who are asking us and who are very concerned of the drinking water. It's actually now at this stage highly embarrassing for NI Water for not even getting back to us 6 months later. Perhaps we should start conversations with DERA and talk to them and let them know what our request is, because there is a stakeholders group there, as we know, council being a part of it. Just going to get some feedback there from council officers. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, members, I'm happy to come in on that. And we have, following on, I know members will be aware we have approached Northern Ireland Water, I think twice, on this request. And following the full council meeting, we have also made contact with them in relation to presenting to Environment and Regeneration Committee in terms of water quality, and indeed to hear any questions from members in relation to that. What I have done is escalated that to the highest possible level within Northern Ireland Water, and I'm hoping that now that we receive a response, members, I will make sure that if we get a response ahead of the next committee, that we make contact with members of the committee and let you know what that is, and hopefully we can get that arranged without any more delay. Thank you.
Alderman Hussey, are you looking on there?
Yeah, just very briefly to strongly support Councillor Duffy. I've sat in that, I don't know how, but I've sat in that stakeholders group for some time now. And as Councillor Duffy says, you're dealing with departments and you're working with a brick wall, essentially, with some of them. And I think there's a growing fear that all has not yet been revealed on this site. And that is extremely worrying. So as well as having Northern Ireland Water in, might it be useful to have DERA and to give us an update on their progress, on their plans for the site? I mean, listening to local residents who are involved in the stakeholder group there is that ongoing fear, hang on, this isn't the end of it. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Chair, if I maybe update on that, members, you will recall following, I think it was 2 committees ago, we had actually formally requested that DERA come in and do an update in terms of the project. Now, they did say that they wanted to, but they needed to be very careful just in terms of the upcoming Newton hearing that's being taken place. And so they have said they will liaise with us and they will come in as soon as they possibly can. But certainly we will make them aware of members' comments in relation to this today again. Thanks.
Councillor Barrett, Raymond Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to a letter that came in, I think everybody got one from PCA Consultant, where they stated it's their belief that Council has the power to take the lead in relation to the remediation and restoration of the site. Is that the case? Just a bit of clarification on that.
Members, you will recall from previous reports to the committee that members received delegations from PCA Consultant, and that members had asked for our legal services officer to undertake some legal advice in terms of some of the issues that have been raised. That is ongoing, and I will bring a report back to members as soon as we possibly can in relation to the various issues that were raised. So we'll bring that report back as soon as we possibly can. Thank you.
Okay, members, our next item, item 14 of a couple of councillors indicated. That's the Peace Plus programme, War Memorial and Historic Cemeteries. And of Alderman Kerrigan first.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. Just a couple of very minor points there. In regards to 3.1 and regards to the 6 cemeteries, and again, I know it's only for information, but those cemeteries, they were selected there. Was there any, I think at the stage there's no scope to add any more into that, but I'm just wondering the process of those selections. Or just just considering the like of the old cemetery at Archstraw there, and I can't recall any time the last person was buried in that. And you have, as I think it's referred as the Green Cemetery down there near Brady, down there on the left-hand side as you've been travelling down the Victoria Road. But maybe that cemetery is still active as an aged one. But in regards to that, and it's just in regards to 3.7, in regards to the war memorials, and it's stating there that what work that's looking to be done, interpretive program consisted of the signs and panels and various things like that. I'm just touching base that we have had consultation with those that are doing the the levelling up application there in regards to the diamond regeneration in Castlederg, because there's no point in us getting money to do that up and then all of a sudden we're looking to spend money, and just making sure that these two projects are linked, that we know what maybe one's looking to do. So just touching base on those. Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in.
Chair, I'm happy to take the first part with regard to cemeteries, and I'll pass to Tony. Council has responsibility for a number of closed cemeteries that were passed to council following the old Church of Ireland Act. So it's mainly cemeteries that have been operated by the Church of Ireland that are now closed, and those form the basis of those that are going forward for the projects. Where they don't fall into that category, then council has limited or no responsibility for them, and where cemeteries are active and still in use, those have been excluded from the scheme as well. In terms of where we're at, the 6 that we've identified have gone forward now, and we don't have any scope to extend that at this point in time, but we can look at other schemes as they become available. And the works are ongoing in terms of looking at how we take the proposals forward. And I'll pass it to Tony for the second part with regards to the war memorials.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Conor. With regards to the query regarding Castlederg, just to advise Alderman Kerrigan that we are working closely and have been liaising with those involved with the diamond project in Castlederg, and obviously sort of we've our project will focus purely on the war memorial itself, and that there'll be no actual overlap between the projects. There'll be complementarity, and obviously the levelling up project will take care of the environs around the war memorial. So clearly there has been dialogue with both sets of project leads to ensure that there isn't any overlap.
Alderman Middleton online.
Chair, for letting me in. The DEP welcome potential restoration of our war memorials across the district, and we would like to thank the council officers for their vision and endeavours in the bid. I just wanted to ask if I could have some information about the cross-community animation programme and vision for the heritage-led restoration historic cemeteries project. My question really is, what exactly is the vision for the panels and the signage project works, please? And just a wee supplementary question, may I also ask which groups have or will be consulted as part of this project, please? Thank you.
Again, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Alderman Middleton. In relation to the project, at this moment in time, it's a project concept stage. It has gone to the Peace Plus, and which have been approved. Obviously, the cross-community animation programme will now, by the way, I think it's important to stress that we haven't received a formal letter of offer yet, and we're expecting to receive that towards the end of this year or beginning of next year. So at this stage, we haven't undertaken any formal engagement. We'll be working very closely with our community services colleagues, and indeed our Heritage and Museums service as well, in relation to how we design that interpretation program, which is around how we, I suppose, activate local communities in terms of connecting with those heritage features, but also around the content of the panels and things like that. So I think that at this moment in time, as I say, we've yet to go out and formally engage, but I would envisage that as we get close towards the letter of offer process, that we'll then commence that process. I think it's important that, we need to have a firm indication that we have the money to deliver the project, and it's around, I suppose, ensuring that we can manage the expectations of our stakeholders as well. We would, and of course, Alderman Middleton, welcome any comment or any feedback from you in terms of any groups with whom you think we should engage with, and indeed any other members on this committee or indeed outside of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. That's really useful. A few groups in mind, including young people as well. So I would be keen to engage at the time, maybe when the formal letter of offer comes through. But I really appreciate that update. Thank you so much.
And Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. Like others, can I thank our officer team who have been involved in putting this projects together, I should say. I'd like to pay particular thanks to Jennifer, who has done a hell of a lot of work on the overall scheme. With regard to the cemeteries, I'm sure yourself, Chair, like me, will be particularly welcoming of the Scarvahearn inclusion. There's a huge demand in that community there that be recognised, and I would have to include Ernie as well, at the older section of Ernie. I'm assuming there. That's all very welcome. Firstly, on the cemeteries under 3.2. Statutory obligation to carrying out regular maintenance, which includes grass cutting. These cemeteries, as we know, were involved in the grow it, don't mow it, or whatever, which caused concerns for some people that I had brought to officers in the past. Can you clarify what we mean by grass cutting in these circumstances?
Chair, happy to do that. Grass cutting will look to ensure that there's pathways through the cemeteries, not in every individual grave, but to make sure that people can navigate the cemeteries. You'll know that some of the conditions underfoot aren't great anyway, and we would like to try and improve that as we go forward, but it's on that basis.
I appreciate that, Chair. I think for those who still do visit family graves in those what are, in inverted commas, closed cemeteries, would find that reassuring. Then with regard to the war memorials, I want to particularly thank Jennifer and the team again for the inclusion of Cyan Mills in that. It wasn't in the original package, and it's good that it has been included. And as said there, the animation programme, there's tremendous opportunity for cross-community work there. I think of our own memorial in Castleberg and the names on it. You're talking 36th Ulster, 10th, 16th Irish, total cross-community representation on that. And in fact, not that long ago, I was able to get council to include through several names which has been uncovered via a local historian and former councillor, Jim Emery. And that was welcomed by the families involved in that case. So there is tremendous opportunity for cross-community work there to widen knowledge of what these actually represent. So appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey, and much in the same vein regarding the cemeteries aspect. Just want to commend officers as well for taking on board the interests of historical groups and that throughout the district. I know I had the pleasure of liaising with one group in my own area regarding Scarvahearn, so I'm glad to see that that's included on it, and just to record my thanks to the officers, because these graveyards, they do hold a wealth of historical information, and if they're maintained and given access to, it can only but benefit our local areas, so thank you. Okay, members.
Sorry, Chair, just briefly, can I support Councillor Kerrigan on his request with regard to the graveyard at the old Abbey site in Artstraw? It's an important site historically, as the former Abbey site, etc., and its connection with St Eugene and the connection right through to the city then, the cathedral.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be taken on board. Okay, members, that's takes us to item 15, which is the removal of planters on the Limavady Road. Anybody wishing to? Alderman Hussey.
I'm coming in at a tangent here, Conor, and I know by that look on your face that you might know where I'm coming from here. The removal of planters was not just in this area. There were planters removed on signage that is to be replaced in and around the former Strabane District Council area. Those planters have not been replaced. What's the update on the signage? I know there was a difficulty with procuring the signage, but particularly with regard then to the planters, which were part of that setup that existed. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. We have appointed now an illustrator to do the artwork for the signs. As we'd said, each of the signs has a unique image on it. So whether it's a local building or mill or feature. So the illustrator is putting that together now, and then they will, once complete, they will go and be fabricated and put on with the signage. And we will look to replace the planters when we get all the signage in place at the one point in time.
Is there any indication of timeline?
Chair, I would say another 4 weeks at this point in time.
Okay, and item 16 is...
Chair, I have a declaration of interest in this. It's not pecuniary in a cash sense, but I'm a recipient or will be a recipient of the pending contracts. I'm going to withdraw for this item.
No problem. We'll have that recorded in the minutes. Councillor Hussey has withdrawn a non-pecuniary as a result of a non-pecuniary interest. Tony's taking this one for us. Sorry. Does anybody want to raise or just for information? I've just a quick query myself. See, in terms of the businesses that have been identified, and if a business has been missed out because they couldn't be contacted or whatever, I mean, is there still a window of opportunity for them to apply, or what's the scenario there? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd say the window's becoming very limited now because, as you can see from the report, we're in live contract mode now with the contractors who are expecting us to confirm to them the final list of participating properties. You're right, across all of the settlements, there are a few that we've been struggling in terms of trying to locate ownership details, even in advance of issuing letters. We have been just undertaking some of our own preliminary research and searches around property ownership so that we could try to target very quickly. So at this minute in time, I'm advised that there are, I don't have a precise number, but there are a few within each of the settlements where there's been no returns. So I think that over the next week, it's our intention now to try to as proactively follow up. We have been engaging, I suppose, with other colleagues and other people to try to help us in terms of that local knowledge. And again, we require some further local knowledge and rely on that of members, we'll certainly get in touch. But yeah, I would confirm that probably over the next week now, we'll be looking to close out and confirm that final list of the contractor.
Yeah, well, I know I've been dealing with a business owner who hasn't had any contact with council officers, so if I forward you on the details, okay, no problem. Thank you. Is any other member wishing to speak on that? No. So that, members, takes us to confidential, and need a proposer, Councillor McGinley and Councillor Jason Barr, to go into confidential. And if IT could just give us the nod